Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Riverdale. A great episode. A lot of stuff went down that we're going to have to break down and discuss. Obviously, the overall plot, basically the lodges now want Fred to kind of run for mayor. And Archie is super not for that, just because of recent things, probably just recent things that kind of went down last episode with, what's the butler dude's name again? I'm blanking on it. Is it Andre? When he killed that guy, and just everything that the lodges have done, probably everything that Jughead was bringing up too, like, because I think more so than anything, like, from the beginning it seemed like maybe Archie was okay with everything going down, because, like, oh, he respected Hiram and Hermione and everything they were doing, he was okay with it. But at the same time, I feel like everything he was doing was also because of Veronica. Veronica's the biggest reason why he sticks around, biggest reason why he wants to go, not really kind of go against anything that they're doing, because he loves her and he doesn't want to lose her, and he's, like he always does, he always wants to stick by her side. Like, that's kind of his main focus. But I think now that his dad's getting dragged in, if I'm dragged into this, fine and dandy, I'll be a part of this if it means I can be with Veronica. And yeah, I slightly agree with a lot of things you do, but I don't always kind of agree. But it's like, I don't want my dad dragged into all of this. Even going as far as getting Mayor McCoy to be like, oh yeah, the mayor position sucks. You got to worry about this, and that. And even that sadly wasn't enough to discourage him, because he still kind of went through it. There's a whole conversation about Pops. And that kind of put things in a very interesting perspective, because I was like, I understand like the significance of buying Pops, but I didn't realize until Jughead kind of pointed it out why it was so significant. Prior to this, everything kind of related to the South Side was being brought up. Basically stuff that's run down or crime ridden, obviously like Southside High and stuff like that. Obviously the place, was it Sunnyside, where all the serpents live? So there's that side. It's like, oh, those are kind of crime-ridden places. But you take Pop's place is the heart of Riverdale, and then it's like, oh, if people find out Hiram's buying that, it's like, oh, those are rundown places filled with crime. No one cares about it. But like, no, this is Pop's. It's like, well, that's a little suspicious. It's like, oh, all these other properties, and then there's this one specific one, because that affects everyone's lives in Riverdale. Because it's like, oh, this is a spot. This is the heart and soul of Riverdale. So I'm actually kind of sad that Pops ended up ratting Jughead out. I can only assume because for him, he's like, I guess it's because he didn't want to take the chance that Jughead wouldn't say anything, which Jug wasn't going to, because of what Pop said about his mom, like wanting him to keep the family and their name and stuff, it belonging to the Tates and everything. But he did what he needed to do to make sure that he could keep the business afloat. Because business was slowing down. No one was coming in because of the whole Black Hood situation. So I'm wondering, is it really that? Could it be that? Or was there a little bit of that Lodge touch where it's just kind of like, kind of twisting your arm with it? Like, so far we see Hiram can be very persuasive, but we never see him like get forceful with people. It just seems like, especially the way he talks to Pop is like, especially when it came to Papa Poutine, it seemed like Hiram like treated him with respect. It's like, do not talk to Pop like that. So, maybe that's just kind of being a good boss in general. It's like, once someone's underneath you, it's like, I take care of you. You're one of the family type of thing, So I don't know. It's really hard to say, but it might just be simply because it's like, oh, I owe you because you helped save my family, like my family business, and kind of kept everything afloat. Let me keep running things. I got to warn you about this whole Jughead situation. Even to the point that FP was going to actually come out, for Jug. When it came to like what Hiram hired him to do last season, kind of trashing up the drive-in so that it'd be a easier situation to buy it up and stuff like that. So, and obviously this kind of leaves them all in the middle, because obviously Veronica doing what her parents are asking, it's like, oh, push Archie a little bit more so that he can push and convince his dad. But that was kind of a no-go, and you see it kind of put things in perspective for Veronica, because she kind of was like, no, she actually did kind of feel scummy about it, and she didn't want business and pleasure to kind of get mixed. She wants like, hey, Archie's part of this situation, sure, but I want our relationship like to stay like separate from like this whole family, the family thing. But it's like, with Hermione, it's like, well, you can't do that. Like, the ladies, we handle things with our wilds, while the boys go off and they handle the gangster side of things. So it's like the ladies hold things down, kind of do what the guys can't do, essentially. But Veronica doesn't want that, because I think at the same time, because that would also mean that Archie would change, and that's something she's never wanted. She's wanted Archie to always stay the kind-hearted, honorable person that he is, always trying to do the right thing. And it's like she's probably afraid that if he gets dragged into that world, he's going to end up like her dad, which her dad's not a bad. She loves her dad and accepts him for who he is, but it's like she doesn't want Archie to change into that. She wants Archie to stay who he is, the man she fell in love with, you know? So it took a while, but we finally found out at least a part of what the lodges are up to. So apparently they're taking Southside, and basically Southside High is being turned into a prison, while like the Sunnyside homes are being turned into homes. All the land he's been buying up is for homes for those prisons. So obviously that seems like it's a big first step, which you could obviously give and take with that. It's like, oh, like I understand where it's coming from, but obviously Fred was looking like, no, this is my home. Like those are homes that belong to people. This is our home. We can't just have you just like destroying it and remaking it into whatever you want. But you have Archie kind of siding with Hiram, because for him it's like who he used to be, like probably Archie at the very beginning of the series before Jason. It's like, sure, I probably wouldn't agree with why you're doing what you're doing, but he's like, because of everything that's happened, because of Jason, because of the Black Hood, because of my dad getting shot, he's acting kind of reacting out of fear, because it's like Riverdale isn't the place that he knew what it used to be. It's a new dangerous place, and like to make sure that the people that he loves and care about are protected. Especially, let's kind of not forget what just happened to Veronica, Betty, and him and Jughead last episode, kind of getting robbed like that. You know, it's like he wants to make sure that everyone and everything he cares about is protected. So. Which you can honor dad, but it's like, is it the right thing to do? Because it's like, dealing with the lodges kind of seems like it is a deal with the dad. Because in the long run, I knew it couldn't be so bad, because whatever it was, it had to be something that Veronica was okay with. And it kind of makes sense. It's a situation of, it's hard to say, because there's one side of me that's like, is it really that bad that they're building a prison? But at the same time, it's like you're kind of taking a lot of people's homes away, just for the fact is you can demolish it and kind of create like homes for people who work at a prison. I guess at the same time, because it's like, oh, you're making such a big thing a part of Riverdale. And then there's also the aspect of like, well, you're literally tearing down a high school to put up a prison. So that's kind of a little weird. You literally took down an entire school from kids just for the sole purpose of, because it's on a certain side of town that no one would care about, because you think they're not, because at the same time, that's you literally saying the same thing of like, you don't care about them, people don't care about them, so we can just do whatever we want and build a prison. So like there's that mentality that comes along with it. Obviously the lodges are going to try and spin that to a more positive angle, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there's still got to be more to it. Like I said, it leaves me a little conflicted. Like, to me, obviously, it's very shady. The way you're approaching this is super messed up, because you had to go through loopholes and mad messed up ways to kind of get things the way you are. Let's not forget, a lot of this was handled while Hiram was in prison. So, I mean, like I said, it's the backdoor shady dealings that kind of lead to that. So it's kind of like, it's one of those things of like, do the ends justify the means? Haven't said that in a long while. If you don't know, that's kind of like my catchphrase when it came to these podcasts for such a long time, because I've used that for everything, just because it's like, it's a good story thing to, you know, that conflict of like, you're trying to do the right thing, but you might go about it the wrong way. But isn't it okay as long as it ends up doing something good in the end? And the question is it going to do something good? I mean, you would think, you know, but at the same time, it's like, why a prison specifically is the question. Is it supposed to present more jobs? It's like, couldn't you find more other opportunities? Why a prison specifically? I guess because like, maybe because it will give them like, they'll get some federal kickback from it, because Lodge Industries is trying to go legitimate. It's kind of like the plan, and it's like, oh, it's going to make Riverdale 100% safer for everyone. So, but I'm thinking like maybe it's like they'll get a little kickback from the prison. Is that what that's all about? Or it's something else entirely. Maybe the whole prison will just be a front, so they can make it so that a lot of illegal crime in Riverdale can be handled behind bars, and maybe it'd be a little bit easier. Like maybe have corrupt guards there to kind of allow business to kind of, you know, maybe it's kind of like a laundry situation of like, oh yeah, like there's actually crime being committed in the prison because there's bad security guards. I mean, guards who are on the take, as well as prisoners who are just all working together, and maybe the lodges will kind of make a steal in it. That could be it. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know. But, on top of that, you have Hermione running I always kind of struggle because I want to say Hermione one way, but I was like, no, it's Hermione. It's just like, I don't know. I'm so used to not really saying the name. It kind of messes with me a little bit. So I apologize. Sorry. But Hermione is running for mayor. That's kind of interesting. I guess it's kind of like the next reasonable step. I guess because, like I said, the ladies handle things that the guys can't. So, and Hermione has proven herself to be quite the tactician and politician essentially already, just with the way, like I said, like she just, like, I feel like her, like, once again, her character has done like a complete 180 since season one. It's like, oh, you're like, oh, she's kind of caught up in a bad situation, she's an innocent mom. It's like, no, she's just as neck deep in this whole situation. That makes you wonder, like, was everything in season one just for the purposes of drawing Fred in closer, or was it just because she did have like a moment of weakness and she did care about him like that? It's hard to say at this point in time whether that was genuine or not. So I mean, her and Hiram and Fred were all just laughing at dinner and stuff like that old time. Well, not dinner, but at lunch or whatever for like old times. So it's like, whatever was there seemed like that's okay. But I don't know. It's just something to kind of get you thinking. Obviously, the person walking away from this the most pissed is Jughead, because it's just like everything he tried to do, nothing kind of worked. You even had Smithers come in. Wasn't his name Smithers, or was it Smee? I don't remember. It's bothering me. The guy who used to work for Hiram until he got fired, that dude tried to go. Because even when it's all said and done, he still asked about Veronica to Jughead, because he knows there's a lot more going on to here. Because at the end of it, when it's all said and done, he doesn't want, like, I still believe Veronica doesn't know the truth. She thinks she knows the outskirts, but there's got to be a lot more. Because let's not forget that Hiram is a gangster. He is in bed with a lot of bad people. So who's to say that this isn't a front, and that, it is, that Veronica, much like, kind of thinks like, oh, the ends justify the means. It's like, oh, it'll be good in the end, but not realizing that there are evil and bad ulterior motives in the situation. So we'll have to wait and see. But, other than that, yeah, the whole situation with the Cooper family as well as the Blossoms. Because for one, like, I was wondering why. I was like, oh, Hal's asking for a divorce. I was like, really? About this whole chick situation? I know you're like bumping heads and stuff like that, but you want a divorce immediately? He's like, oh, the fact of the matter is, I used to treat you like a queen, but now you and Betty have chosen a stranger over me. So it's like, hey, I will give you half of what I made from the registry sale, and you can have that. If you just like speed up this divorce. And it turns out like, oh, the reason why he's doing that is because Clifford's will is being read. It's like, you slimy bastard. That's why you wanted the will read. And you have Alice just making a scene like, oh, this incestuous cesspool, and everyone's like, she's like, yes, I said it, incestuous. And it's just kind of like making this big scene, and her and Penelope were about to get into it. And then obviously like Alice had to be escorted out. So because it is kind of shady, because it's like Hal wanted that divorce super quick, so like he wouldn't have to share any of the money with her, just because he's pissed at her right now and everything. I mean, to be fair, their relationship has had a lot of ups and downs, but still, I mean, that's like any relationship. But he's willing to cut his kids in on it, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Basically, you get to keep what's a part of what's yours if you can prove that you do have, like, Blossom blood in you. So, and then there's the whole situation about Chick. And then then it starts clicking more and more, the way he's just walking around, just being creepy and everything, being super pissed because Alice is like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm too busy with the twins right now. You can go ride the bus or something like that. And you have Betty looking at him like that. And I'm like, oh, you're falling out of favor with the family. And I'm like, and the way he was unwilling to get a blood test. I threw it out there last episode. I'm sure there's plenty of people that kind of picked it up sooner, but I cannot believe I didn't even think about the possibility that I just assumed, it's like, oh yeah, obviously he's got to be her brother. That's got to be Alice's son. It's like, no, he's not. Like, either her real son died and he just stole his identity. More likely than not, that's not the case. Most likely a grifter. The dude that came after him was probably a dude that he was like, oh yeah, like, I'm in on his grift or whatever. Or like, he knew that Chick was saying like, oh, he was going to come in some money. So it makes you wonder, does he know, like, I mean, I'm sure newspapers and stuff like that are out there. I mean, sure, if you probably do your research, like, probably, I mean, he might be a lot smarter than you think he is. So he might have done a lot of deep diving to find out that the Blossoms and the Coopers are related. So maybe he thought like, oh, he can get a piece of that. Or at the very least, it's like, oh, he's been on his own for so long. So it's like, oh, he wants a family to kind of keep as his own. And now the problem is, like, Betty ends up figuring him out because of like the whole like getting his blood tested, which there's so many interesting things. Like obviously Chick had that moment of being like, oh, he walks up to Betty and he's just kind of like, oh yeah, like they're like, love is finite and you can only have so much you can give to people, especially new people come into your life, you give it to them, but then eventually the people you loved before kind of get cast out in the cold. I was like, okay. I immediately thought he was going to referencing Betty because I was thinking like, okay, Betty's the one that's super against him and everything. And then eventually, like, I thought like he kind of used that against her and kind of get her kind of pushed on the outs when it comes to their mom. Because there was even that moment where Polly was freaking out. I was like, really? You left the twins with a complete stranger? What are you talking about, stranger? It's your brother. I mean, the fact of the matter is Alice didn't want to look any deeper just because obviously she took Betty at her words, but it's because Alice wanted to, make up for the past. She's like, oh my God, I got a second chance. I'm not going to waste this. So she didn't bother trying to investigate any further. Hal kind of kept throwing it out there, but for her, it's just kind of like, no, you're just being an idiot. You're being jealous. You just, I'm sharing my love with someone else, so. But on top of this, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because it is something that he basically threw in Jughead's face, like the other episode, being like, oh yeah, like, be careful. You never know what might happen, to Alice and Betty because of what you don't want that might, end up bad for them. And that's something he has on Alice and them. Like, Betty can't do anything about this. She can't probably, like, if she says anything to Alice about it, he'll most likely go, oh yeah, but your mom, oh yeah, what about that body? I mean, to be fair, they dispose of it, but who's to say he doesn't know exactly who's to say he didn't secretly follow them and kind of knows exactly where the body is. So that turns into that whole situation too. So like I said, he's just a grifter, trying to have a happy home. It was kind of interesting too, because moment Polly's leaving, he's like, oh yeah, do right, because she's going, interesting enough, I was about to bring it up, it's the whole farm thing. Like, she's not going back to the farm. She's going to go to, like, where was it she was going? I think it was like San Francisco, which interesting, like that farm thing. It's something we got introduced to this season. Maybe it was brought up last season. I don't remember, but it's like, it's something that we haven't seen or get to know about. It's just kind of like, oh, that place is a little culty. Oh, I guess we'll never really get to know anything about it because she's not going back to it. It's like, wait, what? So that's kind of interesting to me. I guess it's just kind of a plot device to be like, oh yeah, she was there, she's not going back. You don't really need to know that place because it doesn't serve any significance, at least for right now. Maybe it will later on down the road, but we'll have to wait and see. So you have all that going down, and then at the same time, you have Archie making his deal with Lodge, basically making a blood pact, burning the notebook that had any proof that he had written down. So now he's kind of all in at this point in time. And that's just a sad thing, because it's like, once again, Archie's trying to do the right thing because he believes, and it's the reason, it's the same thing why Fred wanted to run for mayor in the first place, because like, oh, I want to run for mayor for, for me, for Riverdale, and for you, Archie. And Archie's doing the same thing. Like, what, going along with the Lodge's plan, to him, it's like, oh, I'm doing this not only for my family, I'm also doing this for everyone in Riverdale, so what happened, the tragedies that have befallen Riverdale never happened to anyone else. Oh yeah, and how am I completely forgetting about the other huge bomb that got dropped in this episode? Clifford having a twin, Claudio returning after so long. That's so interesting. Like, maybe, I don't remember if they brought that up in season 1, but there's that whole story about the curse of the Blossoms when it comes to twins and stuff like that. Because part of me was wondering, I was like, oh, is this actually Clifford back from the dead, just like he faked it? But I was like, well, nah, there's too many people that examined that body for that to be fake. And it's just like, yeah, it's like, so I do believe the twin story, especially because as we can see, twins kind of run in their family on, in this whole situation. So, but the situation is that twins have a tendency, like, one ends up dying horribly, and usually it's at the hand of the other. So Clifford pointed a gun at Claudio when they were like 14, because it's like, yo, because Claudio was the one that was supposed to take over like the Blossom like family business. So Claudio ended up leaving and everything. So but now he's back, and it's just kind of like, where do things stand? It's like, apparently they have problems with the Lodges. Why specifically? I guess it's kind of like a long trek back, just like the whole situation between the Blossoms and the Coopers. Maybe the same thing happens with the Lodges. But it seems like, okay, the first thing we got to do is a little housekeeping. That's Roseanne, the grandmother, as well as Cheryl. So it's like, I don't know whether it's a situation of trying to remove them from the picture, because it's like, we need to remove them from everything so we can get what they get. Like, Roseanne's getting Thistle House. They had the mansion, but basically, let's not forget the situation the mansion found itself in at the end of season 1. So it's like burned to a crisp. And Cheryl, as the heir and everything, kind of has rights to a lot of stuff. So I'm assuming, and I'm sure Cheryl is assuming that means they're trying to remove her from the picture in some shape or form. It's like clean up their house first, kind of raise the Blossom family back up to what it needed to be. So, I mean, I wonder, is that going to be like Claudio kind of like, because like subsequently, since the whole thing went down with Clifford, like we still don't really know where like the whole Maple business sits. I mean, to be fair, it's got a bad rap because now it's like, oh yeah, that was all connected to drugs and everything. But now you could be like, oh, Claudio's come back and he's trying to rectify everything, which is still awkward because he looked just like his brother, and I'm sure that's still going to be a stipulation. Not unless they make it so that Penelope's the one that kind of becomes the face of the operation in the family, while Claudio kind of runs things with the board, or at the very least, maybe Penelope handles the board and Claudio handles things behind the scenes. I don't know, because this could be an opportunity, like, cause I feel like that's what they're aiming for, trying to bring the whole situation back into fruition. Bring the Blossom name. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm going going on a tangent, and I literally like had a brain freeze just then. Nevertheless, you know, there's also a weird part of me that's like, you don't think they're going to do something weird like make them hook up Penelope and Claudio's? Because that would be weird, because it'd be like you dating your brother-in-law who looks just like your dead husband. That'd be weird. But hey, it's Riverdale and things get scandalous and weird. So it kind of goes with the territory. So I don't know. I'm so interested to see where that all goes down. I also appreciate that Cheryl ended up inviting Tony to the will and everything, and even had dinner with the family, which is so interesting considering the fact that it's like I said, I always had a feeling like she had a thing for Josie, but maybe it's like, oh, maybe that's not the case anymore. Because the only person she's really opened up to now is Tony. So, like, for now, they're friends, but maybe there can be something potentially more. But we'll see. Like I said, a great episode. I'm just so interested to see where everything goes down from here. You know what's actually kind of interesting? I was just thinking about it right here at the very end. The fact of the matter is they gave all those pins to Fred, and he now knows the truth and everything. So who's to say Fred doesn't decide to run himself? What if he decides, like, oh, I know what Hermione is up to, and, you know, maybe even, like, the Serpents and Jughead and FP all back up Fred in this battle, and it's like, okay, you're trying to run for mayor? Okay. And Betty backs him up, obviously all the Coopers, but then you have Archie on the side of the lodges, and along with Veronica, obviously, but there's no backing down, because like once you take this step forward, there's no way it can be undone. It's like, oh, we come first now, because for him, it's like his family, his father always came first because that was his family. It's like, well, we're kind of family now because it's blood pact thing, so that's where my mind is at, and I think that would probably be the very logical direction this will go. Like, he does have the pins, they're already done. Obviously, at the end, I was like, oh, they're just handing those to him because it's like, well, we no longer have use for these. Obviously, Veronica got them already ahead of time because we were pretty sure you're going to say yes, because you were going to say yes. But now, I guess we have no longer use for them, so here you go. But then it's kind of like, it's going back to what Fred said. He'd only run because he wants to run for himself, Riverdale, and Archie. Knowing what the lodges are up to, this is his opportunity to run for Riverdale, because to do what he thinks is right, and that's kind of, I don't know, it's so interesting, because it also puts him in a position, because he also doesn't have to worry about the fact is that the lodges will try and control him. Like they said a long time ago, like they needed, could use Fred as, you know, their way of getting the town on their side. Now, obviously, Hermione's playing that role, but I think that's the direction they're going to be taking this. And I'd be surprised if they didn't, but that just clicked in my head. It's like, right, Fred could totally run, and it will not be an easy race because he won't have the resources to take them down. But like I said, he might have the backing of quite a few people in town. So ultimately, we would just have to wait and see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live on to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.